What happens when the laughter isn't enough to hide the storm brewing underneath? When the cameras keep rolling, when the crowd is still clapping, and Jason Momoa, the man who could charm an army with a grin, finally walks into a room where the air already knows something's about to break. The View's studio hums like a living thing that morning. Crew members dart between cables and cue cards. Producers bark orders through headsets, and the audience claps in bursts of pre-show excitement. The air smells of coffee, makeup powder, and nerves. The lights overhead burn hot, white, merciless. Everyone's chasing the clock, but no one knows they're also running toward a collision. The show's theme music hits. Familiar rhythm. The camera sweeps across the table. Whoopi Goldberg steady and grounded at center. Joy Behar's smirk sharp as ever. Sunny host composed. Sarah Haynes glowing with anticipation. They're veterans of live television. Women who've seen stars rise and fall right across that polished table. But this morning feels different. There's a buzz none of them can quite name. And then he walks in. Jason Momoa, hair tied back. Gray linen shirt stretched across those infamous shoulders. The easy swagger of someone who's learned that being larger than life doesn't mean you have to try. His smile detonates the room. Instant applause, shrieks, laughter. It's not just a celebrity entrance. It's gravitational. The camera loves him. The audience worships him. Even the hosts, so used to A-listers, can't help but glow a little in his orbit. Ladies and gentlemen, Whoopi announces, voice rich and confident, her grin widening as the applause swells. Aquaman is in the building. Jason waves, modest but magnetic. Good to see you all, he says, voice carrying that surfer's warmth, the kind that wraps around every word and makes it feel like sunshine. The table erupts in energy. Joy Behar leans forward, cards fluttering slightly in her hand. Jason, you've been everywhere lately. Movies, environmental campaigns, fashion ads, even your own water company. Do you ever take a break? Or are you trying to save the planet all by yourself? He chuckles. The kind of sound that fills space effortlessly. Just doing what I love, Joy. I care about this planet. Care about people. That's it. Laughter ripples through the studio. Easy and genuine. Joy laughs. The audience laughs. Even Whoopi cracks a half smile. For a moment it's light, fun, television gold. But underneath that laughter, there's something else, a current, small, invisible, threading its way through the air. Maybe it's the way Whoopi's eyes linger on him a moment too long. Maybe it's how Jason's smile holds a fraction too still when he sits down. The chemistry is alive, but it's volatile. The applause fades, replaced by the low hum of cameras repositioning. The rustle of cue cards against fingertips. The lights seem to grow hotter, sharper. Someone backstage whispers, rolling, and it feels less like a show beginning, more like a fuse being lit. Jason shifts in his chair, broad shoulders settling. Whoopi glances down at her notes, then back up, measuring him. Joy leans back, ready for another joke. The crowd is still smiling, unaware they're sitting front row to something unscripted. Jason laughs again, the sound rich but tighter this time, as if he can sense the air changing. The conversation hasn't turned yet, but you can feel it hovering, waiting somewhere between the applause and the silence. The room forgets how to breathe. The storm isn't here yet, but everyone, every host, every camera, every heartbeat feels it coming. The laughter fades just enough for the next question to land. It's subtle at first, a shift in tone that only the seasoned watchers of The View would notice. Whoopi leans forward, elbows on the gleaming surface of the table, that famous calm settling over her like armor. The smile she wore seconds ago disappears, not abruptly, but with intent. Jason, she says, voice low, deliberate. You talk a lot about caring for the planet, about protecting people and the environment, but some folks out there think your lifestyle doesn't exactly match that message. The air snaps, cameras were louder. Or maybe it just feels that way. You know, she continues, tilting her head slightly, eyes fixed on him. Flying private jets, those luxury homes. People see that. They wonder, can someone really preach sustainability while living like that? Half the audience gasps. The other half murmurs into the air like static. Joy shifts in her seat. Sunny glances at the producers off stage. Sarah's smile falters. It's no longer just conversation. It's confrontation. Jason's grin stutters like a record skipping on a beat. For the first time, the easy confidence falters. He looks at Whoopi, not angry yet, but startled. A flicker of something real crosses his face. That flash of a man suddenly aware the ground beneath him is moving. "That's fair," he says finally. His voice steady but slower, as if each word is weighed. "I get that I'm not perfect, Whoopi. I'm learning. Care. And I'm trying to do better every day. You can care deeply and still be figuring out how to do it right." It's honest, vulnerable even. The crowd softens for a beat, but Whoopi doesn't blink. So she presses, tone cool as ice. "Do you think people can take your activism seriously when your lifestyle tells a different story? Or is that just more of the same old Hollywood hypocrisy?" The word hypocrisy lands like a dropped stone. Joy lets out a nervous laugh. "Oh, come on, Whoopi. Don't scare the poor man away already." But the joke dies midair. Jason doesn't laugh this time. His jaw tightens. That wide smile evaporating into a line. The sound of the studio shifts. The air conditioner hums louder. The audience rustles. Someone coughs. "You calling me a hypocrite, Whoopi?" he asks. Voice lower now. A hint of edge beneath the calm. Whoopi meets his gaze unflinching. "I'm saying people notice, Jason. They notice when someone says one thing and lives another." A ripple moves through the room. Every set of eyes flickers between them, waiting to see which way the current will pull. The red light on the camera glows steady, merciless. Jason leans back, his hand brushing through his hair, the muscles in his arm flexing tight. He exhales through his nose, controlled but heavy. The surfer calm that made him America's sweetheart wavers under the weight of the moment. "I grew up with nothing," he says finally, voice deeper, slower. "So yeah, I have some things now, but I use them to do good. If you're going to come at me for trying, that's on you." Joy blinks, uncomfortable. Okay, let's move on." He tries. Voice light but brittle. Whoopi doesn't move. "If you really want to make change, Jason, you've got to walk the walk. You can't just pose next to a recycling bin and call it activism." For a heartbeat, everything freezes. Jason's eyes lift, sharp and unreadable. The audience holds its breath. The hum of the studio lights sounds like a heartbeat in the walls. Something shifts behind Jason's expression. A tightening, a decision forming. The warmth that once filled his voice cools into steel. His breathing changes, controlled, measured, dangerous. And in that stillness, under the glare of the cameras and the smell of powder and heat, one thing becomes clear. This is no longer an interview. It's a duel. The silence stretches too long. It's the kind of silence that grows teeth, that feeds off tension. Jason leans forward slightly, elbows on the table. His eyes steady on Whoopi. The smile that once filled the studio with warmth is gone. In its place, there's something heavier. Measured control masking the edge of fury. "You want to talk about hypocrisy?" he says. Voice low, calm, but sharp enough to cut glass. "How about a show that claims to empower voices, but shuts down anyone who doesn't fit the script?" The words slap across the table like a physical hit. Joy's head jerks slightly. Sunny's eyes widen, and Sarah glances toward the control booth. The air itself feels electric, humming with disbelief. Even the audience, mid-breath, doesn't know if they're supposed to gasp or clap. "Jason." Joy starts her laugh too high-pitched, an instinctive attempt to soften the blow. But he doesn't stop. "People come here to talk," he continues, his voice rising just enough to fill the studio. "But the second someone says something that doesn't fit the agenda, you tear them apart. You don't listen. You perform." Cut to break. A producer whispers urgently into the headset backstage. "Cut now." But the red camera light doesn't die. The feed stays live. Whoopi sits back, her arms folding slowly across her chest. Her expression barely changes. Cool, unreadable, but her jaw tightens. "This is the view, Jason," she says evenly. "We have opinions here. If you can't handle that." "Oh, I can handle opinions," He cuts in, voice cracking through her sentence like thunder. What I can't handle is disrespect. That line lands like a grenade. The audience reacts in a strange split sound, half gasping, half cheering. Some even start clapping, not sure whether they're supporting him or the sheer audacity of what's happening. Sarah reaches out, her voice shaking. Maybe we can. Whoopi raises a hand, silencing her. No, she says quietly, eyes still locked on Jason. Let him finish. Jason exhales once, slow, grounding himself. His chest rises and falls under the studio lights. The heat from the lamps glistens against his skin. You can almost see the pulse in his neck. The calm, the surfer's serenity is gone. In its place stands a man stripped of PR polish, speaking from a place that feels unfiltered, dangerous, real. You invite people here to have conversations, he says. His tone steady now, colder. But what you really want is agreement. And when you don't get it, you label it wrong. Or worse, you humiliate people on air. Whoopi's eyes narrow slightly. Are you saying we're not fair? I'm saying you're not listening. The crowd falls silent. It's the kind of silence you feel in your chest more than your ears. Someone in the back shifts. Chair cacks. A microphone hums faintly. Behind the cameras, the producers are in chaos. Do something. One hisses. We're live. We can't cut now. But no one moves. Whoopi leans forward again, that faint razor-thin smile returning. Jason, this is what we do. We challenge people. We ask the hard questions. He shakes his head slowly. There's a difference between a hard question and a cheap shot. The tension in the room turns liquid. You could pour it. Jason straightens, his voice dropping to a near whisper. You know what people at home see right now. He turns, not toward Whoopi, not toward the table, but straight into the camera. They see who's trying to talk and who's trying to talk over them. The studio erupts. Some cheer, some boo. All shouting over one another. Security shifts closer to the stage. It's chaos disguised as entertainment, live and uncontainable. Whoopi's lips curl into a thin, brittle smile. Well, Jason, she says, her tone sugar over steel. Looks like you've made your point. Jason nods once, slow and final. Yeah, he replies, voice cutting through the noise like a blade. Think I have. The camera lingers on him a moment too long. The applause clashes with murmurs, lights blinding, everything too loud. And in that roar of mixed emotion, something irreversible happens. The interview ends, but the moment doesn't, because what just exploded on live television can't be edited out. It's already out there, pulsing through the airwaves. Unstoppable. The red light above the cameras dies, but the heat doesn't. The second the segment cuts to commercial, the set explodes into movement, producers rushing forward, crews scrambling like firefighters after an inferno. The applause sign blinks off, but the buzz doesn't stop. The audience sits stunned, whispering in small electric bursts, unsure if they just witnessed history or a train wreck. Jason's already on his feet. He doesn't look back. The gray linen shirt clings to his shoulders, darkened with sweat under the studio lights. His boots hit the hallway floor hard, echoing against the cinder block walls. Behind him, his publicist sprints to catch up, heels clicking in panic. Jason, wait. Please just stop for a second. He doesn't. Jason. She calls again, breathless. We can fix this. They'll cut that part out. He stops only long enough to look at her, eyes still burning from the adrenaline. No, they won't, he says quietly. You saw her face. The second that segment hits the feed. It's everywhere. Viral before lunch. His voice isn't angry. Uncertain. Final. The kind of tone that comes when you know the story is already out of your hands. Back on the stage, Whoopi hasn't moved. She sits still, eyes on the table, mug of tea untouched around her. Kes hums. Joy tries to break it. Nervous laughter. Spilling out like a reflex. Well, she mutters, voice half-hearted. That escalated faster than a fast and furious scene. No one laughs. Sunny leans forward, voice calm but tight. Whoopi, that wasn't just heated. You went after him personally. Whoopi lifts her gaze, her expression unreadable. He wanted real talk, she says flatly. He got it. Real talk. Sunny shoots back. That wasn't about the environment. That was about him. Sarah, ever the peacemaker, interjects gently. Let's just take a breath, okay? Got tense. We're all professionals. We can bring it back. Sunny shakes her head. Bring it back. He walked off the set, Sarah. The audience saw everything. There's no bringing that back. A voice crackles through the earpieces, tight, clipped. All business. We're live again in 30 seconds. Joy blinks fast, smoothing her notes, pretending to focus. The studio crew resets like automatons, straightening chairs, adjusting microphones. The air feels heavier now, thicker, as if the argument itself is still suspended between the walls. Whoopi exhales once, slow and sharp. She sets her shoulders, the veteran mask, sliding perfectly back into place. No trace of the woman who just went toe-to-toe with Jason Momoa. Only the seasoned host, ready to take back control. Fine, she mutters, more to herself than anyone. We'll finish the show. The countdown begins. 10, 9, 8. The audience is hushed, expectant, watching every flicker of motion like something might snap again. At 1, the red light blinks alive. Welcome back to The View, Whoopi says, her tone smooth as glass. Before the break, things got a little intense. The audience laughs weakly, half out of discomfort, half out of obligation. Joy forces a grin, voice a notch too bright. That's one way to put it. Whoopi nods, a faint smile tugging at her lips, perfectly measured. We respect all our guests, even when conversations get passionate. And I think we all know Jason Momoa. He's passionate. Sometimes passion brings fire. The camera pans across the table. Sarah nods, eyes down. Sunny doesn't smile. Joy shifts papers she doesn't need. Behind the scenes, the control room is a storm of whispers. She's spinning it already, one producer murmurs. Keep her composed. Ratings will skyrocket. But under the gloss of professionalism, the cracks are still visible. The tension hasn't gone anywhere. It's only changed shape from open confrontation to quiet strategic control. On stage, Whoopi's voice stays steady, the image of calm authority restored. Yet beneath the bright lights, her fingers tighten around her mug just a little too hard. And somewhere down that hallway, Jason Momoa keeps walking, his jaw set, his heart still pounding, the echo of her last words chasing him through the corridor. The commercial break didn't douse the fire. It only taught it how to burn quieter. Backstage, the hum of the studio carries through the walls like static. Jason stands near the exit doors, breath still ragged, adrenaline pulsing in his veins. His publicist is already on the phone, whispering to someone in urgent fragments. Cancel his next interview. No, cancel it all. He's done for today. But Jason doesn't move. His eyes are fixed on the glow spilling from the stage beyond the curtain. The voices, the lights, the applause that isn't for him anymore. Get me 5 minutes, he says suddenly. His publicist freezes. Jason, don't. It's live television. If you go back out there, I'm not letting her rewrite that moment. He cuts in. His tone isn't loud, but it's iron. And before she can stop him, he's already walking. The audience gasps as Jason Momoa steps back into the light, larger than life. His shadow cutting across the studio floor. The hosts are mid-sentence, the camera's rolling. Joy's jaw drops. Sarah's eyes go wide. Sunny's lips part in disbelief. Oh, he's back. Joy whispers under her breath. Jason doesn't sit. He stands center stage between the table and the audience, his presence commanding every square inch of air. Before you wrap this up, he says, voice steady, carrying through the stunned silence. I need to say something. Whoopi blinks once, caught between irritation and shock. Jason, this segment's over. Not yet. It's not. The audience goes silent. Even the cameras seem to hesitate, their red lights trembling faintly. You said passion brings fire. Jason continues, eyes locked on her. You're right, but what you call passion I call disrespect. I came here to talk about helping people, not defending myself against your assumptions. Whoopi's expression hardens again, that defensive edge sliding back into place. Jason, you came to the view. This is what we do. We ask questions. There's a difference between a question and an accusation. He fires back. Joy looks around helplessly. Can someone please cue another commercial? But no one moves. Jason's voice softens, but his words sharpen. You know, I've been to war zones. I've walked through refugee camps. I've stood on beaches covered in plastic, cleaning them with people who have nothing left but hope. I've seen what struggle looks like. Real struggle. And when I talk about it, I'm not trying to look good. I'm trying to make them seen. The studio is motionless. Every breath feels amplified under the lights. So when someone like you, he says, his tone quiet but laced with emotion, someone I grew up admiring for speaking truth. When you turn that into a punchline, yeah, I take that personally. For a moment, Whoopi says nothing. Her fingers rest on the mug in front of her. She looks at him, not as a host, not as a legend, but as a person caught between pride and recognition. Jason, she says finally, her voice low. I wasn't mocking you. Then what were you doing? The question hangs between them, thick as smoke. Behind the cameras, the crew holds their breath, afraid even the sound of movement might break the spell. Whoopi exhales, her shoulders sinking slightly. Maybe, she says slowly. Maybe I went too far. The audience murmurs in surprise. It's not an apology, but it's close. Jason nods once. That's all I wanted. He turns toward the audience now, his voice carrying the weight of calm after a storm. Don't ever let anyone tell you caring is fake, he says. If you're trying to do something good, even if you fail, keep trying. The world's already got enough people tearing others down. For a second, the silence is total. Then the applause begins. Soft at first, then rolling, rising, thunderous. The kind of sound that fills a room from the floor to the rafters. Joy claps too, hesitant but real. Sarah smiles with relief. Sunny leans forward, eyes bright and Whoopi. She just sits there, expression unreadable, the faintest flicker of emotion in her eyes. Jason gives a small nod, then steps forward. Whoopi stands. There's a beat of hesitation. Then she extends her hand. Jason takes it. The handshake isn't warm, but it's honest. And for one fleeting second, the cameras capture what no script could plan. Two people standing on opposite sides of conviction, meeting in the middle of truth. The applause roars again as Jason turns and walks off stage, the lights following him until he disappears into the corridor beyond. The air he leaves behind still crackles with what he said. It isn't victory. It isn't defeat. Something rarer. Understanding. By the time Jason's SUV pulls away from the ABC building, the story is already out of their hands. Phones light up like city skylines. Feeds flicker faster than the traffic lights outside. Within an hour, clips of the confrontation flood TikTok, X, and Instagram. Raw, shaky, captured from audience phones. One moment goes viral above all others. Jason turning to the camera, voice low and defiant. They see who's trying to talk and who's trying to talk over them. That line slices through the internet like a blade. Hashtags ignite. Number Momoa vs Whoopi. Number respect the guest. Number Jason fires back. Millions of views turn into millions of opinions. Some call him a hero for standing his ground. Others accuse him of arrogance, of mansplaining, of disrespecting a legend. It's chaos, the kind that only digital firestorms can brew. Fast, unforgiving, unstoppable. Inside ABC's control room, the night crew crowds around glowing monitors, replaying the broadcast again and again. The producers' faces are pale but sharp with adrenaline. It's everywhere, one says, eyes glued to the trending charts. Executives want a response. Phone buzzes. The showrunner answers, voice tight. Don't delete it, he says after a pause. We'll frame it as what it is, heated but honest. People love authenticity. Lean into that damage control by rebranding the explosion as a feature. Classic television survival instinct. Across the hall, the dressing room is quiet. Whoopi sits alone in front of the mirror. The reflection staring back more tired than angry. Her makeup smudged, her tea cold. The notifications on her phone haven't stopped in hours. Pings, vibrations, headlines. Whoopi crosses the line. Momoa claps back live. The View meltdown. She scrolls until one message stops her cold. You were out of line, Whoopi. That wasn't you. Her hand lingers over the screen. The noise outside fades, replaced by a hollow quiet. She has weathered controversy before, more times than she can count. But this feels different. This wasn't a political argument or a cultural debate. This was personal. For the first time in years, she isn't sure if she was right or just proud. Meanwhile, across town, Jason sits alone in his hotel room. The city lights bleeding through the window like slow fire. The TV plays muted news loops of his own face. He doesn't watch. His phone is off, lying face down on the nightstand. His publicist knocks gently, enters with a laptop in hand. You should see this on the screen. Fan-made video plays. It splices the clip of him standing his ground on the View with footage of him cleaning beaches, speaking at environmental rallies, hugging kids in refugee shelters. The background music is soft, cinematic. The title reads, Jason Momoa standing up for what matters. He watches silently. When the video ends, he exhales and smiles faintly for the first time that night. People get it, his publicist says quietly. He nods. Yeah, they see what it really was. The next morning, The View opens differently. The air is thick, expectant. Whoopi sits centered, hands folded, eyes steady. Yesterday, she begins. We had a passionate conversation with Jason Momoa. And sometimes when you've been in this chair as long as I have, passion can sound like hostility. That's not fair to anyone. So Jason, if you're watching, I hear you. The audience claps softly, a fragile but sincere sound. A few hours later, Jason posts for the first time since the storm broke. A single black and white photo of the ocean. Calm but endless. The caption reads, Fire cleanses. Respect rebuilds. No hard feelings, only lessons. Be kind even when it's hard. Within hours, it racks up millions of likes. News anchors call it graceful. Fans flood the comments with hearts, waves, and words like honor and truth. The noise doesn't vanish, but it softens. The fire burns lower now, leaving behind embers, warm, glowing, still alive. Because this was never just about an argument on live television. It was about how we speak, how we listen, and the thin line between conviction and compassion. By the end of the week, the storm hasn't vanished. Simply evolved. The headlines have cooled from outrage to reflection. The tone shifting from shock and clash to what it meant. Analysts call it everything from a generational divide to a cultural reset. Podcasts debate authenticity versus responsibility. Commentators pick apart the handshake, the single fleeting moment that ended the most chaotic episode The View has aired in years. The camera had caught it perfectly. Jason's hand meeting Whoopi's across the table. No smiles, no warmth, just truth. It wasn't reconciliation. Not exactly. It was acknowledgement. Two people from different worlds colliding in front of millions, realizing neither would ever fully bend. But both had been heard. That handshake replayed across screens for days, slowed down, freeze-f, analyzed like a scene from a courtroom drama. One journalist called it Hollywood's rarest moment. Two egos pausing long enough for grace. And then at the end of Friday's episode, when everyone thought the network had finally closed the chapter, the trailer dropped. Whoopi sat at the same table, her tone calm but deliberate. Next week, she said, her eyes steady on the camera, Jason Momoa will be returning to The View. And this time we're going to finish the conversation we started about the planet and about how we talk to each other. The audience gasped. Then the applause hit. A rolling wave of surprise and curiosity. Even the crew backstage froze for a beat, caught off guard. Jason had agreed to come back. Within minutes, social media ignited again. Comment sections filled with speculation. He's brave. She's making amends. They're both milking it. Everyone had an opinion. But beneath the noise there was something more interesting. Shift. People weren't just talking about the fight anymore. They were talking about communication, about listening, about respect. The clash had outgrown its players. Across Los Angeles, Jason watched the clip on his phone, sitting in a quiet corner of his trailer. His publicist hovered nearby, waiting for his reaction. "You sure about this?" she asked softly. He smiled faintly, eyes still on the screen. "Yeah," he said. "You don't fix silence by walking away from it." Back in New York, Whoopi watched the same promo from her dressing room. The reflection of her own face stared back at her through the mirror. She exhaled slowly, almost to herself. "Let's finish it right this time." The conversation online deepened. Think pieces flooded the web. Is authenticity the new professionalism? Do celebrities owe the public composure or honesty? What happens when truth stops fitting the script? For once, the audience wasn't divided by sides, but by self-reflection. When the clip of the handshake resurfaces one last time that night, slowed to near stillness, the image feels less like conflict and more like a lesson. Two hands, steady but tense, a moment neither could fake. No one really won. No one really lost. What survived was something rarer. Understanding that listening isn't weakness and disagreement doesn't have to mean disrespect. The spotlight that had once burned like judgment now feels like illumination. Both Jason and Whoopi have become mirrors of conviction, of pride, of imperfection. And as the lights fade, one question lingers in the glow. Who really crossed the line? Jason or Whoopi? Was it ego or authenticity? The story doesn't end here. It only waits just beyond the next cue card under the same bright lights for two voices to meet again.